3. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer. We're going back to discussing watering crops on Cholamoid. Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Yaakov, said, Moishchem es hamayim me'ilan le'ilan. We can draw water from one tree to another, ubelvat shelo yashkas kol hasada, as long as you do not water the entire field. Now, the field that we are talking about here is a field that actually can survive on rainfall alone. If you remember, the first Mishna spoke about what's called a beis hashlachin, which was a field that had to have constant irrigation. Now we're talking about even a field that can survive on rainfall. The thing is, though, that if you bring more water there, it's going to produce more fruits. There's a gain here. There's no loss if you don't water, but if you don't water, you're not going to gain as much. You're not going to produce as many fruits. So when it comes to this first case, where it says you're drawing water from tree to tree, that means you have a tree and like there's this pool of water, call it a pool, but in a puddle, but a pool of water that has gathered around the tree. And now you want to get that water over to other trees. So what do? You take your foot, make a little ditch, and the water goes over. No big deal whatsoever, and that's a very important part here. There's very little effort in doing that. And that is why Rosa ben Yaakov says that even though we're talking about a field that can survive just on rainwater, if in order to be able to produce more fruit, there is really barely any effort involved, you can do it, even on Cholamoid. But only if you don't water the whole field. Again, I don't know how, the bottom line is this little bit of effort, right? If you decide somehow or another to do the whole field, it doesn't say how big this field is, how many trees are involved. That just didn't say anything about that. But the Mishnah says, if it's a question now of now doing this to water the whole field, then that already makes a greater effort, right? And the way they describe it as, it's a significant effort. And a significant effort, says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, you cannot do on a field that can survive just on rainfall. If the whole point is that it really can survive on rainfall, but by watering it, it produces more fruits. So if there is very little effort involved, you're allowed to do it. If there's significant effort involved, okay, I'm going to use significant because that's stage 2, significant effort involved, then you can't do it. You can't do it then. Now, if you remember back to the first Mishnah, we spoke about, as I mentioned, a field that cannot survive unless it has constant irrigation. And there the Mishnah said you can water the field. You can water the whole field. Because there, if the question is what we're going to call significant effort, if it's a question of davra of it, if you're not going to do it, the field's going to be lost, you're allowed to do. What can't you do according to the first Mishnah, if you recall? You couldn't, let's say, draw the water from a well, because that's called great effort. That's the highest level of effort. And that you cannot do in a Cholamoid even to save the field from being lost. That was the first Mishnah. So we've got 3 levels. We've got little effort, right? We have called it significant effort and great effort. Okay? The baby bear, the mama bear, and the papa bear, right? Mm-hmm. Now, so now the difference is that, again, according to Rosa ben Yaakov, this is the opinion of our Mishnah, the first opinion of our Mishnah. Little effort, you could do it on Cholamoid, even to go ahead and gain more fruit. Nothing's going to be lost. You want to do it just for more fruit, you're allowed to do it if there's no effort. Significant effort, that not. If it's something where that if you don't water it, the field is going to be lost, significant effort is okay to do the whole field. Great effort, which we had examples of that in the first Mishnah, that you can't do. Then the Mishnah continues. This is a new case. You know, we mentioned a case where the field can survive on rainfall. And we have a case where the field needs constant irrigation. Now we have a field that, again, cannot survive on rainwater alone, but it needs some irrigation, but not irrigation every day. Some fields are so bad, right? They're so weak, they're so dry, whatever you want to call it. They need irrigation every day. Every day you got to get the water through the irrigation canals to go ahead and keep this field alive. Our Mishnah now, this case now in our Mishnah is a field, rainwater alone, not enough. You got to irrigate it, but not every day. So therefore, the Mishnah says, plants, produce, that were not watered before Chol Hamoed. It means they don't need to be watered before Chol Hamoed. They don't need a constant irrigation. They need some irrigation, but not constant. Lo yashkim hamoed. Eliezer ben Yaakov says, those fields you cannot water during Chol Hamoed. It's going to be okay, if every couple of days you miss irrigating it, the field can survive. That's the kind of field it is. Then wait till after Yom Tov to water it. You don't have to water it right away. That's what Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says. The produce, the plants that do not drink or don't need to drink before Chol Hamoed, they don't need to be drinking every day before Chol Hamoed. Lo yashkim hamoed, don't water them on moed. You let it go because it's not going to kill it. Our sages, though, permit in this case and in that case. This case and that case means, according to the Chachamim, in the case before by the field, that could survive on rainwater. And we said that you can't water the whole field. Eliezer ben Yaakov says you can't water the whole field. The Chachamim say you could water the whole field. The sages did not forbid on Chol Hamoed doing something that will gain you profit, that you will gain from. Even though you're not going to lose by not doing it, but you won't gain, the Chachamim say you're allowed to do it. And therefore, in that field, that was field that again, it can survive on rainwater. It will survive. Nonetheless, you can water the whole field, which is what we call significant effort, because that's going to help you produce more fruits. So that's the first thing that the sages argue with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Eliezer ben Yaakov said the whole field that you can't do by a field that doesn't need rainwater, that can survive only on rainwater. The Chachamim say, the sages say you could. The next case they argue about is the last case that we just said. In case of the field that needs irrigation sometimes, but not all the time. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, since it can go without water for a couple of days, then you skip Chol Hamoed. The Chachamim say, no, you don't skip Chol Hamoed. Why? For the same reason. The sages permitted you to be able to do things that will help you produce more, yield more. You'll have more gain. And therefore, the Chachamim permit in the second case also. Even they don't need irrigation every day. We don't say skip a couple of days because it'll survive anyway. It'll make a difference in being able to produce more. The Chachamim say you can do it. And at the end of the day, what really comes out here is Allah is like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Because Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov concurs with the first Mishnah, which was a Mishnah that was stam. There was no names mentioned on it, which means that's what we follow. And that's what he said. And what comes out at the end is that, in a field that cannot survive without being watered, you could water it every day. You can water the whole, and you can, including the Chol Hamoed, you can water the whole field. Significant effort's okay. Now, if the effort now falls in the category of great effort, that you cannot do even by a field, that would actually be ruined if you didn't do it on Chol Hamoed. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you. Thank you, right.